Hello, everybody, and welcome to iHLS Innotech International Conference. In this segment, we'll discuss the future and cyber innovation. A very distinguished panel here. Let's introduce yourselves, please, by way of sitting. We'll start with you, David.
Thank you. My name is David Rozenblat. I'm CTO in data security in IBM Security Division. We mostly protect on data across the cloud, prem, and everywhere.
Okay, Guy, the chairman of this part of our conference today.
Guy Mizrahi, the chief cyber officer at RayZone Group, which deliver and manufacture middle-grade intelligence tools and cybersecurity tools.
Great. Dani?
Okay, thank you, Yaakov. My name is Dani. I'm a deputy director of marketing and sales of amazing company, Israeli Aerospace Industry and Cyber Division. And it's great to be here.
A very big company, I might say. Ron?
Good evening, nice to meet you. My name is Ron. I'm the VP Product Management at Silverfort. At Silverfort, we deliver a unified authentication platform and identity protection platform to our customers.
Great. And Ronen?
Hello, my name is Ronen Yehoshua, CEO of Morphisec. Morphisec provides advanced threat protection for enterprises, covering endpoints, server workloads, on-prem, on cloud.
Great. And joins us remotely, Dr. Roey Tzezana. Hello, Roey. Introduce yourself from the future. You're a guy from the future.
Yes, I am a futurist or a future studies researcher. I study the future, including the future of cybersecurity and cybercrimes at the Blavatnik Interdisciplinary Center for Cybersecurity Research.
Okay, so let's start with you. Let's predict the future. How do you do that?
Well, we look at trends. We don't just predict one future. We study multiple futures. We try to analyze the trends that will lead to those futures and to understand what are the opportunities and threats in each future. And in that way, we bring the scenarios we create, the opportunities, the threats we uncovered to decision makers so that they can make intelligent decisions based not only on the present, but also some understanding of the future and on the consequences of their actions.
Okay, so yes, I'd like to move over and hear from you, each one of you. What do you think when it comes to the future of cybersecurity? Let's start with you, David.
So I think we have a lot on the future of cybersecurity, not just one thing. In IBM, we're working on AI. I think AI is important thing in the future of cybersecurity. We have it today, but there is a long journey to go with AI across cybersecurity.
So prediction again.
Yeah.
Guy?
I'll talk a little bit about the past because, you know, I'm at the cybersecurity industry, I think the past 25 years. I'm still seeing the same vulnerabilities, same exploits, same ways of attacks that basically attackers are using. So if I would needed to basically think what would I say 20 years ago, I hope that I won't say again that the very basic vulnerabilities are still happening, phishing attacks and web application vulnerabilities and so on and so on. I think that today system can fix themselves. When you program something, when you write code, the code basically don't give you the option to do something that is really vulnerable. There are all kinds of things that fixing those codes. I hope that in the cyber, you know, this would be more advanced.
We need a new code.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dani.
Okay, so I do believe that there is artificial intelligence, for example, is part of the future that we can see. But I do think that we are on some turning point when our customers and our society are looking for solution, not for fancy boxes. The technology is great, really, it's great, and we see a lot of great things about it. But right now, it's an era of solution. Right now, it's an era when stakeholders are looking for cyber awareness in the national level. They are looking for protecting their children. The post-corona era that we really see, it's coming, I hope.
Yeah, it's also.
I really hope. We have to see more attention from policymakers about cybersecurity. So it's not just a technology. I do see solution. I do see some comprehensive approach about cyber. This is a future as we want to see him.
That depends on also politicians and leadership. Ron?
So actually, I'm an optimist in general, but what we do see is threats are on the rise. So if you look at, the amount of damage caused by cybersecurity or cybersecurity incidents, if you look at 2015, there's a lot of different data, but we have data points of up to $3 trillion in damages due to cybersecurity, events. We're talking in 2021, the prediction is $6 trillion in damages due to cybersecurity. So the threat is on the rise. The risk is going up. What we need to ask ourselves is, where we're positioned as, vendors, as markets, as nations, to really disrupt these threats and work together to mitigate them as best we can. And I hope we can talk about that more.
Yeah, seriously on the rise. Ronen?
Well, I think the cyber scene is actually like a battlefield, right? There is an attack and defenders, and we were taught in the army that you can never allow yourself to be on defense mode. You have to quickly move to attack. But in the business world, you cannot really attack, right? So I think we have to become more proactive. So I think the big change that we have to see in the market is moving to more proactive approaches, more proactive defenses, because the current states, when we are defending, the attacker will always have an advantage, and the gap is always getting higher and higher. And as you mentioned, the risk is getting higher and higher all the time.
Roey, back to you over there. Are we talking about human nature that brings us to this point where this kind of things, criminal activity or maybe state against state activity, is constantly on the rise?
Well, it's not just human nature. I mean, it's the entire environment, and this is where technology has brought us to. And also it's because of the coronavirus, because we see that now that the coronavirus has arrived, well, the changes that it brought with it are here to stay. It's going to be very difficult to change the systems that it has affected. And that means that more people work remotely, more infrastructure is being controlled remotely, more robots find their ways to our hospitals, factories, and roads, and all of those things are connected, and as a result, all of them are vulnerable. So they all require a huge investment in cyber security. And I would say that this fact that technology is now being essentially allowing us to work remotely and to control infrastructure remotely, this is the most important driving force when we think about the future of cybersecurity.
Right. So, David, after the pandemic, we've seen a huge bump in technology use around the world. So is the risk.
Exactly. The risk is rising because most of the people work from home, work remotely. The ability to protect them in that way is lower than the way that you sit in the office and you're behind all the firewalls and all those things. And we need to deal with it. It's an important thing to deal with it, the risks that we have today, and create tools that will help with remote work.
So Ron, it's a race. Is there some sense of worry that maybe we will not be able to beat the bad guys?
It is a race, and it is extremely worrying because as there's so many things that drive the risk up and drive the amount of attacks up. So we see on one hand work from home that dissolve the perimeters. As you mentioned, there are no longer perimeters. You cannot trust anyone that is in the organization because he's working from Starbucks. You never know where he is physically, so there's no relevance to physical boundaries. And so, the approaches today really require us to validate and verify our employees, our guests, at any point in their journey, something that really changes the perimeter-based approach of the past.
Right. That, Dani, relates to big companies. Many workers, many people, maybe they work from Starbucks. What do you do?
Okay, so I will raise maybe another question. What actually did the post-coronavirus. We do have the old technologies that we know before the pandemic. It's the same technology that we have it right now. The difference is the amount of data that is working, because the perimeter approach wasn't really effective before the pandemic. We are talking right now about changing the vision of how we approach the cybersecurity. I think this is a big difference. I know that there is a country with very advanced e-gov system, but they was managed by voluntary approach. Okay, the citizen can come and use the e-gov technology, and he can come personally and do it. Right now, it's a necessity. It's a necessity. So we are looking for, and once again, I'm going back to the solution. It's not about perimeter. It's not about boundaries. It's not about even hygiene in the cyber. We are talking about the approach of governance to the cybersecurity. This is something that we need to prepare for.
Ronen, so many things changed, possibly forever, because of this pandemic. What will change in cybersecurity forever?
So I think, as my colleagues here said, the architecture will have to change dramatically, because what we see here now with COVID will probably stay with us in the future in a certain extent, a hybrid situation, what we call, and we'll have to deal with that. And what we see that the things that were already started happening before COVID, where we've seen that employees are working more and more from home, at that time even, and also a lot of our workloads and our data moving to the cloud requires us to change the architecture from the ground. Now, COVID only emphasized that, only expedite the whole motion. And we believe that the architecture will have to change from the bottom up. As my colleague here said, we called in the industry about this new situation, one of the approaches called zero trust, right? You cannot trust anyone, there's no perimeter anymore. There's no, I don't know how to identify what is the perimeter. So we have to go to a zero trust mode, which actually says, I don't believe nothing. I don't know who you are. I have to check who you are. I have to check what's your processes. I have to check the email you're sending. I have to check everything, down to the most lower levels you can think of. So I think the zero trust architecture is a real change. It's not about technology. It's not about a certain technology. It's an approach that is built out of some of the existing technologies or some new ones.
It's life. It's a very interesting observation, which brings me to you, Roey, for a final thought. Are we heading towards some sort of a new chaos after this pandemic? You can't trust anybody, you don't know anything, everything is fake news, etc., etc.
So when we're looking at what's going to happen after the pandemic, I would say that we are on the cusp, on the verge of great changes, because we see some technologies that will disrupt everything that we know about cybersecurity. For example, quantum computers that are expected to be able to break pretty much all the common encryption methods that are being used today. And that means that while we are working on post-quantum cryptography, for these solutions to be standardized and widely adopted may take decades. We're also seeing AI engines that start fighting each other in the cyberspace. Some of them trying to hack into organizations, others trying to defend them. And finally, and I want to be so completely futurist here, we believe that you're going to see the need to protect people's brains. Because if Elon Musk's Neuralinks actually work out and they are integrated into not everyone's skulls, but even people with epilepsy or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease, even if only they use the Neuralinks, that's still millions of brains that need to be defended with a device the size of a coin. So you just can't stick too many computing elements into it. So all of those things will pose new challenges to cybersecurity, and we need to start thinking about them seriously.
Thank you very much. See you in the next segment.